Due diligence turns vendor promises into measurable trust. It begins by collecting external attestations, audit reports, and certifications that reflect the vendor's maturity. Examples include independent assessments like SOC 2, ISO 27001, or HITRUST, as well as penetration testing summaries, vulnerability management reports, and security policy excerpts. The goal is to verify, not assume, that critical safeguards exist and operate. When evidence is missing, targeted questionnaires fill the gap, asking for plain language responses about encryption, access control, and monitoring practices. High-risk vendors may also be asked for incident history or remediation summaries. The review should document findings, ratings, and follow-up tasks with dates and owners. Once accepted, all materials are archived in a central repository for traceability. Good due diligence does not drown teams in documents. It confirms that the vendor's real-world controls align with contractual and regulatory expectations for protecting sensitive data.
Contracts formalize security and privacy obligations so they endure beyond the handshake. For health data or other protected information, Business Associate Agreements, BAA, are mandatory, spelling out exactly how protected health information is handled, who must notify whom in a breach, and within what time frame. Broader contracts should define confidentiality clauses, encryption standards, audit rights, and data retention rules. They also clarify whether subcontractors are permitted and under what oversight. Avoid vague phrases like industry best practices without specifics. Cite frameworks, encryption levels, and patch timelines. Define service-level expectations for availability, incident response, and evidence delivery. Contract templates should be standardized, so procurement cannot skip security clauses under pressure. Once signed, contracts become living controls. They guide enforcement and make deviations visible. By encoding expectations in writing, organizations replace good intentions with enforceable duties that survive personnel changes and time.
Shared responsibility matrices prevent dangerous assumptions about who protects what. Many incidents stem from each party believing the other handled a safeguard. A responsibility matrix lists major control domains: identity, patching, encryption, backups, monitoring, and incident response, and marks which side owns each one. Shared areas are explained line by line so handoffs are explicit. For example, a cloud provider manages physical security and hypervisor patching, while the customer configures access policies and monitors logs. The matrix is reviewed whenever new services, integrations, or regulatory updates appear. It also guides evidence collection by clarifying who must provide which reports. Publishing the matrix internally keeps teams aligned and ensures that inherited responsibilities are not ignored. This document may seem simple, but its clarity prevents silent gaps that can lead to breaches and gives auditors a quick visual map of control ownership. Security obligations and service-level terms convert abstract expectations into measurable performance. A mature contract or service agreement defines detection windows for security incidents, timelines for patching critical vulnerabilities, and uptime targets for essential services. For example, an agreement might require notification of suspected data exposure within 24 hours, remediation of high-risk findings within 7 days, and monthly evidence updates. These measurable items turn qualitative trust into quantifiable accountability. Service credits or other remedies reinforce attention without fostering hostility. Agreements should also require notice before the vendor alters configurations or deprecates security features that affect compliance. Aligning obligations with business risk ensures that protective measures scale with importance. When reviewers can point to concrete metrics rather than subjective claims, oversight becomes objective, comparable, and fair across vendors and audit cycles. Ongoing monitoring keeps assurance alive after onboarding ends. Vendors evolve, products change, and once valid reports grow stale. Set refresh cycles that align with tiering: annual for low-risk vendors, quarterly or continuous for critical ones. Monitoring can include subscription to vendor security advisories, reviews of incident disclosures, and confirmation that compliance certificates remain valid. Track ticket histories, support responsiveness, and trend reports on downtime or defects. Even brief quarterly check-ins build confidence and reveal early warning signs. Internally, service owners should log every contact and attach communications to the vendor record for traceability. Automated reminders ensure follow-ups happen on schedule. Continuous attention prevents surprises, keeps relationships current, and transforms third-party management from an audit chore into an ongoing partnership rooted in transparency and reliability. Incident notifications, contacts, and timing agreements define how partners react when something goes wrong. Contracts should specify what constitutes a notifiable event, the maximum time to alert customers, and which details must be shared, affected systems, type of data involved, and initial containment steps. Vendors must maintain validated emergency contacts reachable outside business hours, and both sides should test those paths during drills. Clear notification channels allow joint triage rather than parallel confusion. Track the actual time between discovery and notice to evaluate performance. Each incident should generate a follow-up summary, including remediation and prevention steps, stored with other vendor artifacts. Having pre-agreed expectations avoids legal or communication disputes when every minute matters. Coordinated notification and response shorten recovery, preserve evidence, and demonstrate professional stewardship of shared risk. Data return, deletion, and exit provisions keep control of information even when contracts end. Vendors should describe exactly how data is exported, what formats are supported, and which media or portals are used. Deletion should extend to backups, replicas, and test copies with written certificates confirming completion. If encryption keys are customer managed, specify how keys are rotated or revoked at termination. Define retention periods for logs and access trails so audit evidence persists as needed. Practicing a small-scale export early in the relationship confirms that exit is technically possible, not just contractual. Retaining the ability to leave without data loss or delay reinforces negotiating strength and compliance posture. Exit readiness is a hallmark of mature governance. It shows that data stewardship remains your responsibility until the very last byte is destroyed or returned safely. Subcontractor visibility and oversight close the loop in supply chain trust. Vendors often rely on their own partners, cloud hosts, payment processors, or analytics firms, creating a chain of exposure that customers seldom see. Require disclosure of all significant subprocessors, their geographic locations, and the services they provide. Apply your tiering logic to critical ones and request proof of equivalent safeguards. Establish notice and approval requirements before vendors add or replace subprocessors, allowing you to assess new risks early. Track data flows to confirm that protected information does not traverse unapproved regions or entities. Periodic review ensures transparency remains intact over time. Without this visibility, assurance collapses at the weakest link. Oversight of subcontractors does not need to be heavy, only consistent enough to keep accountability visible and the chain of custody unbroken. Consistent, risk-based oversight turns vendor complexity into calm assurance. The organization maintains a living inventory, classifies vendors by impact and sensitivity, and gathers proportional artifacts that show real security performance. Contracts embed clear obligations and BAA terms, while shared responsibility matrices make ownership visible. Measurable service levels translate expectations into daily practice, and inheritance is applied carefully to reduce duplication without losing accountability. Continuous monitoring keeps relationships current. Incident communications flow through tested paths, and exit procedures ensure control from start to finish. Subcontractor transparency extends governance beyond direct partners, and evidence builds confidence that every vendor follows known, reviewable standards. This steady rhythm of evaluation, documentation, and improvement embodies the I-1 principle of proof through process, measured, traceable, and resilient oversight across the entire third-party ecosystem.